Peace and welcome to another episode of Soulview. And today I have a very, very, very special guest with me, man. She's a legend in the game. You know what I'm saying? She was part of a legendary R&B group by the name of Envogue. She's performed all over the world and they sold over 30 million records, man. But I'm honored to have her on my show from the group Envogue. I got Dawn Robinson in the building, y'all.
Hey,
Salute
Will.
and welcome to the Dragon's Lair, Don. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Will?
I'm doing well, thank you. And like I told
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it. Like I said, man, you give me some brownie points, you know what I'm saying? Because my wife, she's a big fan of you guys, you know what I'm saying? So we grew up on you guys' music, so we really appreciate that, and we really appreciate you. So
we'll tell your wife I appreciate her for appreciating us.
Well,
Thank you.
Not a problem, anytime. So I want to get into the mind of Dawn Robinson because you was part of a great group, right? But you're still an individual yourself. So
thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. Not a problem. So with you having so much success in this physical realm, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and when did you realize music was your passion?
Oh my goodness, my childhood was happy. I was very happy till my dad left at 5 years old, but he stayed in our lives and remained so. My parents were able to get along with each other and make things work for my sister and I. But he was funny. My dad was a funny man. He made our lives happy just being around him. He was our hero. So we had happy lives. My mom worked hard, but it's funny, young mother. You know, I kind of feel like I used to say all the time that we grew up like sisters, my mom and I. She was only 19 when she had me. So she was fun. She was fun in the household all the time. But she was a little more of a disciplinarian than my dad was. He was just silly and I think too young to have kids.
Okay.
Women are more, women tend to mature faster when they have kids. So my dad just wasn't quite there. And I always thanked him for that, actually. Because he had such a young spirit. After a while, I was like, Dad, okay, you look so young. It's like, now it looks like you're my son and I'm your mom. I mean, that's how young my father looked. Just had a young spirit about him. So, and then brought a lot of, so my mom brought mostly R&B music into the household. And my dad brought more of the rock and roll. And my mom was very patient and cool with the whole thing. Like he would play the Eagles, he would play Chicago, he would play Led Zeppelin. And for me, I was like, Mom, I love Led Zeppelin myself, but sometimes I can only listen to a little bit of Led Zeppelin. I can't listen to the whole album. So I can listen to Kashmir. I can listen to Kashmir, Stairway to Heaven. You know, there's certain songs that I can listen to and I love by Led Zeppelin, but been a long time, you know, certain songs I'm just like, okay, now it's starting to get to me just a little bit. So I just thank my mom for being patient enough to allow my dad to do that, you know. Very fun childhood, though, I gotta say. The two of them really made our lives happy. They really did. My parents made us, you know, just happy kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So with that being said, the music that they were playing had a major influence on you, right?
Sure.
So did you know from that moment when you was hearing that music that, hey, this is something I want to do? Like, when was that click moment to say, hey, I love music?
Okay, well, from birth, my mom said all the time that she was pregnant with me, she played music. Wow. The Supremes were huge. Yes. All the girl groups were big at that time. So the Ronettes, the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, the Angels, my boyfriend's back and we got each other.
That great music.
Woo. Exactly. Great music. Fifth Dimension. I mean, they played a lot of stuff in the household. But one particular time I was in the car with my dad and running errands. My mom was pregnant with my sister. We're 3 years apart. They said I used to watch Tom Jones on TV all the time. I would literally sit, if I could get inside the TV to watch him, it would have been that. So yeah, because he would roll his hips around and, you know, all the women thought he was sexy. So me being 2 years old, I was no different. So my dad and I were in the car. I was running errands with him. And he had a Volkswagen that when he went too fast around corners, the passenger door would fly open. Now, you're talking about 70, well, my sister was born in 68, so my mom was pregnant with her. So 68, 69, there were no seatbelt laws. I'm
Oh
sitting
wow.
in the front
Yeah.
passenger seat, and when that door would fly open, I could see it in my mind right now. I could see the street would roll by because we're still moving, we're still driving, and he would just reach
Right.
over, put his foot on the brake, reach over, and close the door for me. No seatbelt. Now, my mom said it would drive her crazy because that car was just haphazard. The Beatles were on the radio one day with Michelle My Belle. That was their big hit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that song is in French. And my mom said that he ran in the house, Barbara Jean, Dawn can sing. She could sing. She was harmonizing with me. And we were singing the Beatles. And it's a French song by the Beatles called Michelle My Belle. And my mom was like, so she can barely even speak English. Like, we're trying to teach her to speak, how to talk. And you're telling me that she can sing in French? She can sing in French. Like, really? And he played the song in the house, and I sang with him, and I harmonized.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was early on by the time he realized that I actually had talent. And when he moved out of the house, my mom just continued to play music. Of course, my dad would play when we were with him in New York. But we lived in New London, Connecticut, so that's 2 hours away. So anytime we were with my dad, of course, he would play music for me, and I would still sing along with him. But when I noticed that I had talent, I would say Minnie Riperton was she passed away. And I had to be 9 years old. And Memory Lane was her big song at the time when she died. But before that, I was singing with her on Loving You and all those different songs that she had out at the time. And I was hitting those notes. And my mom was like, Dawn, we didn't know that they were whistle notes back then. We just knew they were high notes. And I was singing along with her like it was nothing. Very easy to do. So my mom said she just started buying female artists. Excuse the phone. I'm so sorry. Female artists back and forth. They just kept buying all these female artists. I remember her bringing home. So New London was so small that we had one record store in our whole hometown. We had one record store, one movie theater. Like, it was tiny. And my mom brought home, I remember Mickey Howard's album, Come Share My Love, her first album. I didn't know who she was. We didn't know her. My mom would just buy any female that she saw was out there. Always buying Patrice Rushen, So You Remind Me. Was always playing in the house. Stephanie Mills, whatever album she had. She even bought the Wiz album from the play that Stephanie Mills was on Broadway.
Yeah. Okay.
Then when Minnie Riperton died, I learned Memory Lane so well. And her friend his mother was my teacher, I forgot her name. But she was my teacher, black woman, black teacher. And he was my mom's friend. And he was like, well, your daughter is at my mom's class, I think. And we put those two thoughts together. And he was like, I have a studio because my mom said that Dawn can sing. So I have a studio. Why don't you bring her by? And my mom was like, okay. So I went to the studio, and he actually recorded me. This was probably weeks after Minnie Riperton passed away. And he recorded me on one side of the tape, on one side of the song, and he panned my voice to one side and Minnie Riperton to the other side. And I'm singing Memory Lane with her word for word. And I was 14 years old. I was 14. So, yeah, before she died at 9, I learned Memory Lane. I learned Loving You. And then by the time she passed away, I was 14. And then he put us on this song together. So that's when my mom was like, oh my God, this girl got talent like that. Like, that's when we knew this is something that we need to really cultivate, and get behind me.
Right.
So again, she brought home Brenda Russell's album. In the Thick of It, I think the title of that album is In the Thick of It. Way Back When was one of the songs on that album. I just remember learning all these female vocalists. Males too, but a lot of females. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, because of my dad, I learned a lot of harmonies. They were avid, harmonies. Their harmonies were just beautiful. It was like one voice, always like one voice with them. So music was always in my life. It was the pinnacle of who I am. It is the pinnacle of who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
you.
awesome. That's amazing.
I thank my parents for that, really, Will, because
that sounds dope. Like, they were right behind. They understood like what they were seeing.
Yeah.
Like, they understood. your development, and they knew your talent.
Exactly.
And
Well,
that's awesome.
and also they had such a love for music. Like my mom, someone was on the other day, we had on Music Choice or something was on TV, and she ran in the living room, and I could hear her I was in my room, and I could hear her in the living room the other day, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I remember." She had to be, she said, 20 years old or 21. I was like 2 years old or something. And one of my dad's friends said, "Barbara Jean, you need to listen to this guy. You got to buy this album." And he's a jazz artist, but he was playing this piano piece. And my mom said, "Oh my, I haven't heard this since you were 5 years old or 2 years old." She said, and she listened to it, and she was singing word for word what he was playing on the piano. And I'm like, Mom, she knows music that well. That she could literally play the piano part with her mouth.
Wow.
She was just, going along. And I was like, oh my God. And to the very end, dun, 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 dun. I was like, Mom, I was just so impressed. I really was impressed.
That's awesome.
Because that's what music does to us. It's like, I can't imagine life without, it wouldn't be life if music wasn't here. It's so, that's why.
That's facts.
Exactly. And that's why they use it a lot of time in a negative way, because they know that hip hop is impressionable with young people.
Right.
So they use it in a dark way to persuade us to do negative things, and they put stuff in our heads. It's like, and not just hip hop, but in rock and roll as well. So I'm always praying over music because it's sacred to me. You know, it's so, it's like a gift.
It is a gift. And, you know, and I like to think of it because, you know, I believe that music and spirituality go hand in hand. And that
Thank you, Will.
Everything in this universe is vibration and frequencies.
That's
so
real.
If we know that, then, hey, how could you rule out music?
Exactly. Well, but because they know the frequencies of music, that's why they use it in a negative way. I mean, there's good and bad forces on this planet. And I always say that spiritually there is good, and spiritually there's bad. And there are people that want to taint us and make us think certain things or feel certain emotions that are dark and heavy or negative. That's why I keep the news off as much as possible. But I'm living with my parents right now, and they play it a lot. I'm like, oh, the news is so, like, you got 24 hours of negativity going through your brain, programming you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they use music the same way. So that's why I say, and, you know, you got positive, back in the day, it was positive rap or positive hip hop. And then you got, you know, like the KRS ones, you know, and the Fugees, like different people that had positive rap.
Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe, exactly. Yeah. So you know that for a fact, it's been known that they use music in a negative way to persuade us to think a certain thing and to program us to be dark and negative and angry. And we got to be careful with that. I tell people all the time, be careful what your kids are listening to, because now it's about the iPhone, the iPad, all me, I.
Facts.
Yeah, so iPhone, iPad, iPod, which is, it's great because we have our own music on our own device in our ears directly. But be careful what your kids are listening to, because there's a lot of stuff out there that they try to enforce darkness and negativity, like I said with. So I pray over music. I pray over artists to not be that negative artist. Just, you know, don't sell your soul just because you want to make $1, because that's soul. Right. You're selling your soul, but you're doing a lot of damage in the process, you know?
Right. That's so true. And what is some of the valuable lessons that you learned from the music industry?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot. Where do I begin? Right? Where do I begin? I've learned that the music business is not for us. And I mean us being artists. Yeah. Unfortunately, you got people that love what they're doing. Music is literally our life's work. People like Ray Charles was smart enough to understand the game. And even as a blind man could understand, if he didn't get paid a certain amount of money and it didn't have a certain weight to it, no. Nope, this isn't enough. Pay me my money. That was early in the game for him. And then when the record company couldn't match his, I think it was Atlantic Records, so he was on our label. With Ahmet Erdogan and his brother, who created Atlantic Records to begin with. And when they couldn't match his deal to go to CBS, he was like, okay, well, I'm out. But they wished him well, and they didn't try to hold him back or fight him or take him to court and all that stuff. It's like, we can't match the deal, so we have to let you parlay. And to me, that was commendable. But that doesn't always happen. And I look at music like, as I said, it's sacred. So for the Sylvia Rones of the world to not uphold that sacred, really it was a blessing for her to have Envogue, but it was a blessing for us to have her. She, to me, being a Black woman, was like, oh my God, like you're the pinnacle of what we respect as being one of the biggest in the business. She was the HBIC.
Yeah.
So for her to not cultivate Envogue and make sure that we were taken care of financially was a travesty. It was a huge travesty to me, because she could have easily made sure that give us what we're worth, not more than, not above and beyond, but just what we're worth. Don't try to rip us off, basically, for lack of whatever word. It's just, that's what it was. I mean, it wasn't just her. It was the Black men that oversaw Envogue and that put us together in the first place. Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy. Those were our producers, and they had a 5-act deal, and we were one of 5 acts that they put out, and we were the only one of the 5 that were successful. So take care of us. It's just like that. It's so easy. So I learned that just because they say they're in your corner doesn't mean they actually are. And you have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself and stay prayerful. If you have a group, communicate everything to each other, because the forces that be are out there. All those negative forces are out there to make sure that you don't win.
Right.
And if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't stand up for the group, then they're going to take you down and not care. My thing was, we had
and hold on, Don, because you're saying something. No, I'm saying you're saying something so powerful, and that goes into my question, and let's go deeper into it.
Okay.
But I believe that relationships are a very vital ingredient that you need to master in this world. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, what did you learn from your relationship with the group Envogue?
Oh my God. Again, it's just the way that it is. But I learned that they were not in my corner. We started off as sisters. We were a family, because everything that happened to us, when it happened to Cindy, Terry, and Maxine, it happened to me. And all 4 of us were in the same thing together. In other words, we went to the audition. That was something that we had never done. I think maybe Cindy had an audition or 2 before. Maxine may have had that with some plays that she did in San Francisco. But as far as a girl group was concerned, this is new for all of us. As far as putting out our record for the first time, that was new for all of us. Recording our first album was new for all of us. Going around the world for the first time, going to London, everything that happened, we all experienced at the same time.
Right.
And so we were sisters. We considered each other family. And when it came down to renegotiating our contract, we hadn't done that for the first 2 or 3 albums, really, because Runaway Love, even though that was just an EP, it was still an album. I still consider that an album. And we were still making 2 pennies a record on our first album. I understand. That was meant to be. That's what it is. When you get into the music business, you get that first deal. It's not so great. You're not going to get a great deal at first. You're just not going to get that. But the second album, especially after you sell a certain amount of records on the first album, man, you're supposed to tear up that old contract and go in and renegotiate for better terms. And when we agreed, the 4 of us agreed as a group. The 4 of us, meaning Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and I, agreed that we're going to wait and hold it out. We're not going to go back in the studio and sing another thing until... No, that was actually after the second album. When we agreed, the 4 of us agreed that we're not going to go in and do anything until, you know what I mean? We deserve more money.
Right.
And the girls agreed, and then the record company came to Terry and did an album with her. We were supposed to go we weren't going in the studio until they renegotiate for us. And when they decided that they didn't want to do that, they were divide and conquer by taking Terry into the studio to do a solo album. And Terry went in and started recording, and we called her on, and it was like, wait a minute. So what are you doing? Like we agreed, the 4 of us had an arrangement with each other, and that we weren't going to go in and do anything for the record company until they did something for us. It's time. We've done 2 albums under the same terms as the first. And the first album, again, was understandable. You don't get better terms because you haven't proven yourself as an artist yet. Nobody knows who the hell Envogue is and doesn't care. So at that point, you'll take the deal that they give you. On the second album, though, really, we're going to go in for the same terms that we did on the first album. When the first album sold 3 to 5 million albums at this point, or 5 to 8 million, actually, when we went in to record the second album, I'm like, you guys, this isn't right. But I didn't know what to ask for, and I didn't know what to do. And so Maxine and I and Cindy and Terry just got in the studio and recorded the second album. We knew that it wasn't a good deal because when we did the MC Hammer tour on the first album, he was like, you guys mean to tell me, he had a conversation with Cindy, and he was like, you guys mean to tell me that you are not, you're making pennies a record and nobody's renegotiated your contract? Like, there's something wrong with this picture. So they took us back. When we got off that tour, he paid for us to go and sit with his attorney. He was kind enough to do that. Sit with my attorney all day long, bring your contract with you, ask questions, find out what's going on. And we did. And he was like, you guys, it was so dope. It was so honorable of him to do that. And I'll never forget what he did. He was very kind. He showed us a lot of camaraderie between artists. He really did. But that was our first tour, so we didn't know anything, and he just taught us the ropes. You know, he really was kind to us. But his attorney was like, okay, you guys are only making 2 cents a record, and these are your points, and it's not very much. And you should have gone in to renegotiate for the second album, but you never did that. So right now you're under the same terms as the first album. And that's when I started to wake up and things were clicking in my head, like, okay, wait a minute. So we were supposed to renegotiate, you're saying? And he was like, yeah. Maxine said the same thing. So we didn't renegotiate. So now is it too late? And he said, well, yeah, because you're still under the same terms. You can't, there's nothing you can do right now. You're in the middle of this album. You know, or really, it was after no, because this was after our first album that we were on tour with MC Hammer in the first place.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a long time ago. It's like you're talking 30 years, but yeah, either way it goes, we still asked the questions and went in and renegotiated. We did not renegotiate for our second album. We never did. We never renegotiated. So we went in to record Funky Divas under the same terms that we did Born to Sing. Isn't that sick?
So it's getting 2 cents on. That's
crazy. It really is, because my thing is, if you know that you have a golden goose, as they say, and that golden goose is making all these golden eggs for you, and you're making all this money, and hand over fist, you're doing this, and everybody, including the record company, is richer because of Envogue, then take care of the motherfucking group that helps you guys do it. Sorry for the cursing.
Facts. No, you good. That's how we talk.
It's just real, though. It's so... Take care of the people that got you there. Don't act like we're not important and that we don't deserve to be paid. You know, it's like, because this is what happens when you are not treating the people well. The people revolt. Right. The people stand up and fight for more. And I don't care what union, over the years when I was a kid, especially, the unions used to always fight for the people. And the sanitation department would shut down. They would shut down. Like the garbage, the trash would be stacked up to the windows on the buildings because they didn't renegotiate. They didn't give them better terms. And until that day happens, we're striking. We're on strike. We got our signs outside, our picket signs, and we're walking around, you know what I mean? Until they get it right, until they treat their people right. Exactly. In those instances, there's always a union, a rep that speaks for the people. And in our case, we had a manager that was managing our producers. So there was a conflict of interest there. But what I learned, just getting back to what you asked me, what I learned about the music business and the group as a whole is that nobody is there for you. You have to be there for yourself. I'm going to create a girl group of my own called GLAM. GLAMM. Just to be different, because I want 2 M's on the word instead of just one M, like everybody else spells it. But one of my biggest things to them is going to be about communication. Because when you don't communicate, and one of the girls starts dating the manager or our producer, in our case, our producer, there's a lack of communication that happens.
Yes.
Yeah, and that that starts the ball rolling in the wrong direction, and it starts to pick up steam. So it's a snowball effect. And things got out of control because Terry wasn't communicating with us. There was a shutdown in communication. And we're over here, she's over here like, you guys, I don't care what happens. I don't agree with you guys. I don't care what you guys decide to do. Just go ahead and do your own thing. And we were like, we can't do that without you.
Right.
So basically you're telling us to go to the record company. Yeah, you're telling us to go to the record company and renegotiate a contract without you, sweetie. That doesn't work. You know, we signed as a group, and that label is going to look at us. Yes, that label's going to look at us like, okay, y'all are crazy out your mind. So when Terry gets back to it, we'll decide if we want to renegotiate with you guys or not. That's what they would have told us, because it was a group. We signed as 4 people. We didn't sign as it's just 3. So it was a mess. She kind of left us high and dry.
Yeah, it sounds like, and that's something, what you're saying is something so big as far as the communication, because you need that. That's vital. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that was a big learning lesson for you.
That's right.
And actually, after leaving the group, you also became a part of a duo group, which was Lucy Pearl. Exactly. How did that happen? And shout out to Ralph Sadiq, you know what I'm saying? But how did that happen?
No shout outs from me.
Okay, well, I'm sorry about that, but I just know I'm from the music. That's how I can go off of, you know what I'm saying?
It's like this. Anytime somebody tells you the same thing about, I don't care if it's a boss or somebody in your life that has done you wrong, you have that reaction. So that's the reaction I have. I understand that everybody loves him, and rightfully so, because his music is dope. He's incredible. Raphael reached out to my manager and asked her in 2000. I'm sorry, actually it was 99. Asked her if he said, I know that Dawn is in between her deals, and I was wanted to see if she was interested in doing a super group idea that I have. It was Raphael's idea to do Tribe Called Quest, Ali from Tribe Called Quest, and Raphael from Tony, and then me from Envogue, and he wanted to create the super group out of that. And she basically said no. And he contacted me. So when she said no, she told me about it maybe days later. And she said, yeah, I got a call from Raphael the other day. And I was like, Raphael who? Raphael Sadiq. Oh, okay. Because I know him as Ray Wiggins. We've known each other literally since we were 16. He was in my band.
Oh, wow.
So, we were kids, and he would play in my band in San Francisco, in Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area. So, I was like, oh, okay, Ray, wow, Raphael. And she said, yeah, he was asking me if you were down to be in a group idea that he had. Now, I told him no. And I was like, what? Now, her and I had battle with each other from day one. From the day that she started to manage me, she just treated me like I was a new artist and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And yeah, we would battle it out a lot. And I was like, okay, that was the last straw to me when she told me that he presented the idea to her about me doing the group, and she told him no before she even told me that the idea was there, that it existed at all. And I was like, wait a minute, so do you think that I'm a newbie? Like, I just got in this business yesterday and I can't make up my own mind?
Right.
And she said, well, I have a deal on the table for RCA with you, and I have a deal on the table, for Virgin Records, and right now we're negotiating that. I said, I know, I understand. However, it would be great, I think, because she told me that the terms were 1 year.
Okay.
With Raphael Sadiq doing a group. We didn't know the name of it yet, but 1 year, and it was Ali Shaheed Muhammad, like I said. So I was like, okay, so how is a year going to hurt me? I can record simultaneously if I have to. Once we get on the road, especially, I can come back and forth and just record in the studio as need be. It just made sense to me that I do both, the group, and because he wasn't trying to lock me down for 7 years. Typically, when you sign a major label deal, it's 7 years or 7 albums, whichever comes first. And he was only offering me 1 year, 1 year deal. So I was like, that's not going to lock me down forever. And it just makes sense for me to go from one group to another. Okay. And Raphael Sadiq, like, come on, how can you not see that that's a brilliant idea? Right. Tribe Called Quest, like Ali, like, come on, that's a brilliant. Envogue. come on, can't you not see that visually? It just made sense to me. And I fired her, and I contacted Bob Jameson at RCA, because again, I had that deal on the table, and I wanted to give him first right of refusal is what it's called. Okay. What do you think about me doing this group? It's only a one-off. It's not going to lock me down forever. And I'm getting out there on Raphael Sadiq's dime. In other words, his record company is going to pay for all the promotions, all the recording, all of the videos, everything that we have to do for this album to succeed. Or, you know, I said, and then it also gives me more material when it's a hit. Say we have a hit as Lucy Pearl.
Right.
You know, this is going to give us all the time in the world to do this whole thing, and then it's on their dime. But it's only 1 year, and I'm not locked down. So, and it's also a way for me to do a group. Coming out of a group, I was nervous to be out there on my own. I never wanted to leave Envogue anyway. The girls pushed me out. So here I am on my own. I'm just like, oh my God, what do I do? And he comes with this idea. Oh my God, I thought it was brilliant. And I trusted Raphael because I've known him since we were kids. Like that's my brother, literally. Or figuratively, but you know what I mean? And it just made sense to me. And then when he said no, I was like, well, sir, I decline your offer. I'm not going to do a solo deal with you on RCA. And he was like, okay. So yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant idea to do Lucy Pearl. Because Raphael is so genius, and the idea was so genius. Our voices together, you know what I mean? Him and I.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we could do no wrong. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hot.
Thank you.
You know, it was on one of my favorite movies,
Love
and
Basketball. Exactly. Oh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like I thought that was just amazing.
Too,
so I just was interested in how that whole thing came about. So that's dope. But you learned a lot of valuable lessons, and now you're starting to try to form your own girls group. So that's dope as well.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this, because the way music is now and how everything is basically digital and virtual, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you planning to do with this group to try to help change that message back in music? Get it back to the soul, the love, you know, the music that you guys were doing, you know, and before you guys, what are you planning on to do with this girls group?
You know, I don't want to force anything on anybody. I want them to have expression of their own. Music is just different now. I mean, every era goes through. I remember my mother saying when they were kids, she had a white friend that would play all this rock and roll in the household. You know, Johnny B. Good, not what's his name? Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. But he would rock around the clock. You know what I mean? That was considered rock and roll to them. Yeah. Gonna rock around.
Frankie Lyman, you know, Frankie Lyman.
No,
too?
Frankie Lyman wasn't so noisy, but for black people, you know what I mean? Older black people, turn that rock and roll, all that noise down.
Oh yeah.
And so the guy that did gonna rock around the clock tonight, I forgot his name. I think he died in a plane crash. Anyway, rock and roll has always had a place in the household where people were like, it's too much noise, turn that music down. And so the younger generation always has their way of expressing their music. Hip hop, when it came out, was just like, what the hell? A lot of parents were just like, what the hell are you playing in this house right now? Like, we can't understand. Hip hop, a hip it to the hip hop, you don't stop. Rock it to the bang bang, but you say up jump. You know what I mean? It was just not a thing that people, unless you were a young parent, you didn't understand it. So it's always been like grandparents, especially, were just like, oh no. And so I want them to be able to express themselves. My thing with my group, Glam, I want them to be, I don't know, maybe 5 girls. But I want them to play instruments like Climax. I want them to have vocals like Envogue, harmony-wise. And then I want them to dress like LaBelle dressed back in the 70s. And to me, we as Black people accepted LaBelle even though they dressed like Kiss. They wore the tall boots, the thigh-high boots, the silver boots. They wore the platform boots. They wore, they had wings on the back of their outfits and crazy headpieces, and it was almost like goth, but silver. Like they were doing something that was unheard of. And we as Black people just accepted them. We didn't question it. My mom loved LaBelle. I grew up with them in the household singing, you know, get just somebody.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to redo that song because it's just so badass. They just had such class on that song. And if you want somebody to be your slave, get you somebody new. They just had this whole like badassness about them. Exactly. Patty, especially if you want somebody to be a slave, get you somebody new. If you want somebody that you can save, get you somebody new. If you need a sucker that you can't hurt, get you somebody. Oh, I ain't nobody to treat like dirt. Get you somebody new. I can't stand it when you call my name. I can't stand it. Yeah, badass women, and we accepted that. Like Lady Marmalade, especially, that was huge for them. So I want a group like that. I want a group that dresses like them and that has that attitude like them and an attitude like Climax and then sings like Envogue. I really wish that we would have played instruments. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be dope. Thank you so much. But the way that I'm going to bring the music back is by letting them express themselves, because they may have that. You got to leave it to them. And not force, because when you force anybody to do anything, it's just like anybody, even 2-year-old children, if they want to wear something, even though that skirt or that pair of pants is dirty, that is their favorite pair of pants and that is their favorite skirt, and they want to wear it.
Facts.
You cannot. They will fall out in the store if you don't let them do something.
My daughters do that. So trust me, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But you know what's great about it, Don, is because you're the head in charge. So you like the coach, you know, and I believe that sometimes if you can give them your wisdom, and sometimes people just need to be exposed to more than what they grew up on. And what I mean by that is, you know, yes, you want to let them be genuine about the music they're making, but also let them understand the whole scope of music and the power of music and how it did change, but then how the game is so unbalanced now. You know, there's nothing wrong with being original, but we just talked about how sacred music is, right?
Exactly.
So if we know that music can influence someone and influence generations, then we have to be aware of the messages that are being put in music. You know what I'm saying? I think all those ingredients that you just listed about, you know, singing like Envogue, dancing like this, and those are wonderful. You know, it's just they need to have balance in their music, and that's my only thing with hip hop and R&B right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just that it's no balance, and it's all over. There's no place that you can go that you won't hear any hip hop or R&B. There's no commercial that you can see that doesn't have hip hop, R&B slang in it. So what I'm saying is so powerful. We just need to understand, based on what you were saying, is that they're running this as a business, and we can understand from your story how they take advantage of the golden goose, how they take advantage of the talented people. You understand? And they don't care about you guys.
That won't happen with my group, because I'm not even going to have them signed to a major label in the first place. It only happens with the majors because, the majors are the ones, they'll sign to my label, Stiletto Entertainment. But the majors are there. Thank you so much. The majors are there to destroy. They don't care about the artist.
Exactly.
You know? So, of course, I'm going to give them my wisdom. I have to tell them the part that I said about communicate, because we, as Envogue, could have kept the group together had we stuck to our guns in the first place. We agreed, like I said, the four of us agreed, we're not going in the studio. We're not going to sing a motherfucking lyric, not one word in the studio until they renegotiate our contract.
Yeah.
Y'all pay us what we deserve, what you owe us, and then we'll consider going in the studio when we're ready.
Yep.
Instead, Terry decided, because she was dating our producer, to go in the studio. So it was messed up from day one.
Exactly.
And the balance was off, like you just talked about balance, but the balance was off with us because we can't negotiate anything or do anything without that other fourth member there. Exactly. Terry's in the studio. That means that we have to sit still until she's ready to. It's like, what the hell is all of this? And Cindy and Terry would not hold her accountable for that. I was the only one.
See, and that's why you're on the path that you're on right now, and that's why your group will be successful, because of your experiences.
Thank you.
They will know how to interact and communicate with each other based on what you went through, and what you went through was so vital, and it was so successful. They have to absorb that information and that knowledge. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's awesome, and I think that's amazing, and I can't wait. So just let us know. We definitely going to support that, you know, and I appreciate your story, and I appreciate everything that you've been through and all the information that you're providing. But I do want to ask you something, because, you know, when I heard your interview with Michael Collier, shout out to Michael, you know what I'm saying? I had him on the show as well, you know, but he asked you a great question. You know, he asked you if you had to choose one thing in this world to do without even money. You said motivational speaker. And from
Yes.
right there, I was like, man, I was inspired. I said I had to reach out to her because that's
Oh,
what I
wow.
do. That's what I do. And I love that. But what made you
Really?
say that? I
Wow.
would never known that you know what I'm saying, that has such a great talent to sing. What made you say that? And what made you want to help people and motivate them like that?
Well, for the past 10 years that I've had social media, literally, Instagram and Twitter, I've in Facebook as well, but I've been putting up, posting. Instagram is, I think, 7 years, and the other two, because Instagram came after Facebook.
Right.
So I would say 10 years, I've been motivating fans. Every single day I was on there motivating fans. Because at first, when I had my Twitter page, I was like, okay, Dawn, you only have 201 followers. And I hadn't done anything with the page in almost 6 or 7 months of having the page. So finally, I just decided, okay, you got to sit here for a minute. Every day, come on, talk to the people, thank them for coming on your page, communicate with them, have conversations. And I started doing that. And before I knew it, I was at 11,000 people. And now I'm at 46,000 followers on Twitter. Because I
Dope.
built that page up by talking to them every day and posting a positive message to get them. Because I figure I'm in a business that I love. I get to do what I do every day and love singing, and I get to do this for a living. Most people work a 9 to 5, and one of my main posts every day for 10 years, like I said, was, you guys are out there going to work to a 9 to 5 that you absolutely hate most times, or even if you love it, you're still making your boss richer because you're working for him. He's the one who's benefiting from all your hard work. So I was like, and I would post that in different ways all the time. Build something of your own. Stay at your 9 to 5, but build something for yourself. Use the internet. Figure things out for yourself. How to write a grant. How to build a company of your own from ground up. And it doesn't take a lot of money. You know, over the 10 years that I was talking to them every day, if they would have saved $5 out of their paycheck, they could have had enough money at the end of that 10 years to start a business right now. Because I've been doing this for 10 years, like I said. So, you know, start figuring out a way to put away money and start your own business. There's always something that every one of us is good at, that other people are doing it. Other people are like, oh, I bake cakes, and I'm great at what I do. So I'm going to put up a YouTube channel and just start showing people how to bake cakes. And after a while, they got enough followers to where the endorsements came in. And people started, you know, following their page enough that they got enough followers to where the, not endorsements, like advertisers come to their page. Yeah. So I love letting people know that they are so much more than what we think we're capable of.
Woo, facts.
Everything, because it's true. Every time I have gotten through stuff that I thought I couldn't, I'm like, how did I make it through that? Like, I made it through that situation. Oh my God. And Envogue kicked me out of the group. What do? I got to figure out how to sink or swim. And it's not because I'm a celebrity that I made it, because every door was closed to me. I tried to get a hold of Universal. I tried to contact William Morris. I tried to reach out to all the agencies. You guys, I'm willing to work. I'm willing to do whatever shows. So, for instance, if Envogue cost $25,000 and a promoter can't afford to book Envogue for that show, I'll do the show for $5,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll just way less than Envogue. They're asking for $25,000. I'll do the show for $5,000. I'll do it. Just if they fly me out in transportation, ground, air, because they got to get me from the airport to the venue or to the hotel and then to the venue, and then and pay me for the show. Ground, air, and what else is it? I'm missing something. But yeah, either way, I'll do the show for little or nothing. And it's like, oh, Dawn, we represent Cindy, Terry, and Maxine, so no, we can't do that. I was part of the group too. Like,
exactly.
Just because I don't have the name Envogue and that brand, I still represent the brand as formerly of. Come on, man.
Exactly. You're still part of that.
I'm still part of it. With the other girls, I helped build that brand. So why can't you guys have my back and get me out there to work so I can work? I don't know how I've survived over these years, because it hasn't been like I got, like I said, 2 pennies a record. So it's not like a whole bunch of money were coming in checks. So you can survive for about a couple of years because you're living off your savings. There was no savings.
Right.
There was no savings. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it was because you was running on your heart, and when you're running on love frequency, it's gonna all come together. So sometimes,
that will.
Yeah, I'm just saying sometimes when we're going through these type of things, it's really hard to look at the bigger picture. But you're
Right.
about to get everything that you worked for and all the experiences that you went through.
Thank
It's
you
about to
so
all
much.
come to you. And this group is
Wow.
going to be a manifestation of that. Just think
That
about
means a
that.
lot.
You
Exactly.
understand? Because
Exactly.
we go through all these experiences for a reason. So
Mm-hmm.
you're right where you need to be, Don. And
Oh man, thank you
it's gonna be
so
amazing.
much for saying that. I appreciate you in so many ways you have no idea. When you talk about energy and you use that word, I immediately know that you're a different type of person.
Oh, of course.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
an
So I
advocate.
thank you for that. We started off on the wrong foot and on a bad foot of things that I didn't understand in the emails and stuff and things you didn't understand, but we got back to it, and there's a reason for that.
There is a reason for that, and it's what I'm talking
Exactly.
about, and it's what
Exactly.
you're talking about, and it's through
Yeah,
communication.
that's
Anything
right.
can be resolved, man. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's
That's
for
true.
people
That's
to
true.
be. It's for people to be understanding of what accountability means, and that's what I
Yes.
talk about. Dawn, is just the self accountability. See,
Right. Right.
regardless if you believe in religion, spirituality, or you're into something else to try to understand this universe, you always
Yes.
have to be accountable. You know what I'm
We all
saying?
do.
We all
Absolutely.
do. And I believe that
Yeah.
the main fundamental ingredients that we talked about today with communication and
Yes.
accountability is what
Hmm.
is going to push a lot of people further. So 2021 is going to be a very positive year for a lot of
Exactly.
people
Yes,
who
it
is on this
is.
frequency.
Exactly.
So for me, everything happens for a reason. So I appreciate your
Ooh-wee.
time. I appreciate your story. And I
Yes.
know it's going to be successful coming from you. I know a success is
Thank
coming
you
your
so
way
much, Will.
because that's what happens. Think about
Well,
it. That's what
let's just talk
happens.
about, well, it does, absolutely. And when you say frequency, again, energy, frequency, all of that, I think a lot of us woke up this year. If nothing else,
Woo!
COVID helped
Come on,
everybody
Don.
wake
Come
up.
on, Don. Come
It
on.
really did,
Speak it.
because
It did.
people had no choice but to be at home, and there were certain things that they were looking at on YouTube and finding stuff. And I
Yes.
noticed every single social media audience is different. So Facebook audience doesn't really react to anything. I'll post something and they don't really say anything. They like a lot of stuff and they're there. I can tell that they're there, and I appreciate their support, but they don't respond. They don't give me any feedback back.
Right. Right.
Twitter is very slow to do it, but they'll do it. They will respond. Instagram is literally what it says, instant. It is instant. But they're
I like
very
that.
wide awake. And they
Yes.
talk about, a lot of times I'll see posts about just because it's family doesn't mean, just because it's blood doesn't mean it's family. You can have family outside of your family that's other people that support you much more than your actual blood, flesh and blood family.
Of course.
Or they talk about, even right now, like December 21st, the other day, there was supposed to be some big shift in the universe.
Exactly.
Saturn and
Great
Jupiter,
conjunction.
yeah, exactly. Conjunction. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
Will.
So, Don, what you're saying is so right, and you got to think about it like this, right? The
Right.
ancients always talked about as above, so below. So
So
you
below.
just mentioned how people are waking up. Now, why are
Yeah.
they waking up at this time when that conjunction is
Thank
happening?
you.
You got to
Thank
understand
you.
how this really plays. You understand?
Exactly.
And
Well,
so, go
I'm
ahead.
so
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought that there was going to be a big, like, something happening. And I know in the universe, because when something happens with the planets, any planet, it shifts, all the planets are affected by it. So
Correct.
I just thought that there was going to be a certain, not that we would have powers and be able to levitate or crazy stuff like that, but I thought that it was going to be a bigger shift. Now, maybe it was subtle, but it was a very significant shift. And so I was going on YouTube and researching what's going to happen December 21st and blah, blah, blah. But I think the shift has already happened, and I think it started a long time ago. Like I said, this year,
Mm-hmm.
COVID made us look at, even having this president, I don't think that he represents what really is out there. I think that he's doing stuff behind the scenes that actually is a good thing. I know it's crazy, and a lot of people are going to give me shit for it, but there cannot be someone that was this bad and this volatile as they say he is. I think they're
Right.
fighting against him for a reason, that he actually is making things happen, but he doesn't have the power of the press to be able to tell those things are happening. Now,
Facts.
I think that he, being a billionaire, could have started his own radio station, his own social media platform, his own something to get out there and tell people, this is what I'm doing. But he doesn't own the internet. So I don't think he would have been able to get out there and still say what was on his mind and what he's actually doing. I pray that if he's not doing the right thing, that God will get rid of his ass the way he's supposed to be out. But I also pray that if he's not, that he'll get to tell his story before actually Biden gets into office. And if Biden is not the right, and I call him Blinden, if Trump and Blinden are not the right people, then God will reveal that truth will come out. Because I think that we are waking up. I think white people are, especially this generation, are ashamed of how their grandparents treated black people. How we were treated as slaves, brought over here, forced over here, I should say. Not brought, oh, come over and work for us. Do you mind coming to our country? No, it wasn't like that. We were forced over here. And the white race has done a lot to harm people in a way that I don't understand it. If I was white, I'd be ashamed.
Fact.
Because that means that my great ancestors had slaves, and they enslaved the Native Americans who they put out their hands to shake their hands and be friends with when they landed on Plymouth Rock. But then they decided that they were going to kill most of them off, destroy the women, rape the women. I mean, there's so much that was done by the white man here. And I think that they have to atone for that, not just with black people, but the Germans did to the Jews. Like, you guys annihilated each other, whites and whites, you know? Yeah, craziness.
Yeah,
so
all the stuff that you're saying is powerful. And that,
thank you.
And those things go deep, you know, and that's what takes the study and the research to find out why those things happen. Like with you talking about Donald Trump, everyone who knows and really are on top of the research, they understand that figure is a puppet. Okay,
he's
so
a puppet.
The president's seat, period, is a puppet seat.
Thank you.
You only have limited power, but for people who don't know, they think the president runs the world, and that's not how it works.
But this is the thing, and you're absolutely right. There was a rapper that came out with a song last year to explain exactly what it means to be a president. There is no power. There are the powers that be that run him behind the scenes.
That's what.
But my thing is, Obama was able to do things, and lots of presidents have done what they call an executive order to pass laws when the Congress is against you and the Senate is against you. As a president, you can still override them by doing executive orders. And he did it. He did it for the Jews. He did it for the LGBT community. But he never did anything for black people, including Blinden, who was his vice president at that time. Like, come on. You mean to tell me that you've been in politics for 50-something years or 50 years, if that. I think it was 50 years that he's been in politics. 47 years, something close to 50 years. A damn long time. And you didn't do anything for black people. And now all of a sudden, I'm going to believe that you have our backs. In fact, all of the videos of him back in the day saying, you know, I don't want my kids going, because they were trying to gentrify or bring in kids from inner city schools to come to the better schools in the suburbs. And he was like, I do not want my kids going to school in a jungle. Now, what are you talking about, a jungle? Dude, you just said a jungle. There's another video with him talking about, you know, he slipped up because behind the scenes, most times he probably calls black kids roaches. So he said, I like kids sitting on my lap. In the summertime, the hair on my legs is really, it's blonde, but in the summertime, it turns white. And when the kids sit on my lap, they push the hair down on my legs and they smooth it down and it pops back up, and they like to watch the hair pop up on my legs. I like roach. And now, mind you, he was around all of these black kids standing around him at the podium. All white kids, and they were jumping around, and you could see them talking to each other. And how kids do, they don't just stand still. They jump around and they talk, and they're touching the other kid, and they're messing around with each other. And all these little black kids around him, not one white kid, not one Native American, not one Latina, nobody but black kids. He said, I like roaches. I like having kids sit on my lap. You just said roaches.
That's great.
Now, I know the power of the press, and I know how they can put words in people's mouths. So they may be lying on him and making it seem like he said something that he actually didn't say. But my thing was, why do you have only black kids around you? And why every time he has kids around him in general, he's got to touch them? And the kids are uncomfortable around him. So
that's something, huh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is something. They're kind of like, stop, please. But they have to be nice because the cameras are on. Right. And their parents are looking at them like, behave. President to be at the time, but politician. Yeah. And the kids are like squirming around like, please stop touching me. Why do you have to kiss me on the top of my head? Like, my mom doesn't even do that. Stop. You can tell they're uncomfortable.
Right.
So I don't know. My thing is, I keep seeing the light come through. I keep seeing, I think when the Secret came out, and I know you were probably a part of this movement with The Secret, but when that movie came out, it woke people up. I'm not saying it was 100% of what The Secret needed to be. I think they missed a lot of key points that they didn't tell on how to use The Secret for yourself. But when that movie came out, it let me know I can control my own life myself. What? Are you kidding me? So anything that happens in life, it's my own doing. It's not something haphazardly just by default happening to me. That I can literally create my own life myself, that I can shape and form and mold the life that I want to make it what I want it to be. Are you kidding me? Like, wow, that was powerful. It was powerful. Yes, because now they've refined it a little bit and explained that there's some missing parts to that movie, like I said, but for the most part, yes, you are the one who determines who you are in this life. You don't just let life happen to you, because stuff will happen and it'll seem like, oh my God, it's like, I can't get out of this situation. I'm always running into the same wall over and over and over again. And it's like, no, you're running into that wall because you're expecting to run into that wall because that's what you expect.
Come on, Don.
Now it's come on. Exactly. You can create your own life. And this is how you avoid that. Don't expect that wall to be there. Expect for a different direction. You're going to go around and above that wall, over it, and you're going to be fine. That's how you create your own life. You determine what your life is going to look like at the end of it. You don't have to live like our parents who didn't know any better. Facts. Everything was pretty much thrown at them, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this bad thing is happening, and that bad thing is happening. Oh, this one good thing is happening. Oh, but these other bad things are continuing to happen. Right. You know?
Wow, that is powerful and well said.
Well, that's why I want to do the speaking engagements. Thank you so much, because I try to reach out to TED Talks, and I think you have to promote someone to be able to do that, or someone else would have to say, oh, we want Dawn Robinson, in order for them. I'm like, you guys are getting me directly. I've reached out to you saying, I want to do this. Right. Because I hear other people. I find that as human beings, and you've seen the same, I'm sure, everybody sees it. The reason that reality shows are doing so well is because people live vicariously through people on TV, thinking that what they're talking about is real. Facts. And the law of attraction thing is like a powerful tool that people are starting to realize, wow, okay, I don't have to be at this job for the rest of my life that I hate, with this boss that can't stand me, that keeps giving promotions to other people and overlooking me like I don't matter. Wow, so you mean to tell me that I can actually buy a home for the first time and only time in my life, and that I don't have to live in poverty forever? You know what I mean? In other words, if you're living from check to check, you're impoverished. You don't have to live on the street to be impoverished. You know what I mean? But you're not middle class. You're not high class or first class. You are in poverty by living from check to check. And wow, I can create a business of my own. You know what I mean? So I keep trying to get in to do the TED Talks thing, or to do, I even reached out to a couple of companies to do speaking engagements. And I'm like, I'm watching other people do it. You know what I mean? Why can't you guys have me? But it's just a matter of meeting the right people.
It's going to happen.
Thank you.
It's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. As long, and that's the thing about the trick with The Secret and the law of attraction. See, one thing that you have to understand is we have a conscious program running and a subconscious program.
Subconscious, exactly.
So a lot of people find issues with the law of attraction or The Secret that they talk about is because they want those things that you mentioned. They want the better house, the better jobs, but their subconscious programming is running on the negativity still. I can't accomplish this. I can't do this. So it takes awareness and it takes accountability to make that manifestation a reality. And that can happen. And people like you and your journey is necessary and it needs to be heard.
Thank you.
So things that you're doing with these outlets, you know, and having interviews, you're going to come across the right person and the right people that will put you on the right platforms, because your story just needs to be heard on a larger platform, and then you'll be able to motivate and inspire and do all the things that you were already doing just on a mass level. So it's already coming on.
That's what's up, Will. Well, you're absolutely right. The fact that everybody is reaching out to me is because they're hearing all the other interviews I'm doing. You heard an interview. You just mentioned one that I did. And so far, what you're saying is absolutely a fact. I've gotten contact from a couple of people just to do movies. The Envogue movie, like I'm
that'd be
seeing
dope.
God. I'm seeing
That'd
God
be
work in a
dope.
big way. Exactly, because I said it in an interview that I wanted to do. They were talking about a biopic, and I said, no, I'm going to do an Envogue movie. And I'm going to talk about, because if I tell the story, it's going to be in a real way.
Right.
As opposed to doing a biopic and they cut stuff out, and Cindy and Terry Maxine are not going to tell the truth about what happened. I've been telling the truth. I've been talking about this whole Envogue thing since I was kicked out in '97, and I only did a couple of interviews that talked about this subject.
Right.
Because usually they're like, well, what's going on with you now? As opposed to, what happened to the group and why did you leave? Now
Exactly.
they're asking these questions, and I love it because it's the people coming to me about this whole Envogue thing. It's not, in other words, I don't mind doing Oprah Winfrey, and I don't mind doing the Ellen Show or Jimmy Fallon or what is the other guy? Jimmy Farrell, I think it is.
Yeah, Farrell. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, but they're not going to get down to the dirt. They're not going to get down to, first of all, they don't have enough time to have me sit there all this time and really explain the details. And I'm seeing everybody that has platforms. I'm proud of you too, Will. I'm going to give you the same props because you guys decided that, yeah, you're welcome. You guys decided that coming on a social platform and talking and having people tell their story was important to you. And that's important to us.
That's awesome.
You feel me? Yeah.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
getting out here and telling your fan base and my fan base that this is what's happening is the only way that I can do it is through you guys. So I appreciate this very much. But
you're 100% correct, you know. And if you go deeper into the Great Conjunction, one thing that I can leave you with as well, Dawn, is that this year 2020 and before that was part of what you was basically planning. Okay, so the seeds you were planting. So from 2018 to now, you were planning. So this next year, you're gonna reap all the benefits. So what I'm saying is that
wait, Will, please
hold on. So what I'm saying, Dawn, is that what you're saying is right on time, and your manifestations are coming. That's why you're moving in the direction that you're moving into. You understand? You think, see, a lot of people think that they are controlling it, but it's not. The energy is already pushing you forward. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
but Will,
you're going to get to where you need to get to.
I didn't hear what you said, though. You said we've been planning it since 2014?
No. I said from 2018 until now.
2018
to 2020.
Wow.
What the things that you were doing during that time, if you were creating the correct foundation this year, and that's why the Great Conjunction is so important, because it's going to push forward that energy of the things that you already planted. So now you're going to get your abundance. Now, if you was doing the work, but if you wasn't doing the work, you're not going to get anything. You know, you're going to get you're going to get the awakening that people are going through that you're talking about. But you're not going to get, you got to do the work first. And that's the main thing. People have to do the work. Yourself, you've already doing the work. So now going into this new year, you're going to start to get everything that you work for. That's how it happened.
We reaped, and now we're going to sow.
Flat out.
Exactly. I feel you. Now, this is the thing, too. I think when people start to reap or sow what they reaped in the positive way, I think what's going to happen now is that people are going to come to us and find out why we're reaping. How are we doing this? How did it happen for your auntie or your nephew or, you know what I mean, the girl next door or the lady down the street or the man who works at the store down, you know. We're going to start to ask those questions. How did that happen? How did you do that? What is the process to get there? Exactly. And that's how more people are going to wake up. I think that's really, we're in the age of Aquarius too. You know that.
Come on.
We just went into the age of Aquarius. Yes, it just happened. So that is, I think I was told that it's like a mirror, which is why we're also getting everybody waking up to seeing what politicians are really like, the bullshit that we see in the universe. Yes. With the people acting the way they have, and the police doing stuff that they say that we're Democrats out here busting windows and all that stuff, but it's really Black Lives Matter people that are actually doing the damage and saying that, well, no, we represent Black Lives Matter. No, you don't. And Black Lives Matter actually isn't even, it is, what is it? What is the name? George Soros. George Soros, exactly. Right. So he's not a Black Lives Matter person.
Right. It's a propaganda machine.
It's a darker force that's behind that campaign, and it is not for, even though they put the big numbers of the letters in the street and all that stuff, it is not for us. I know it seems like it, but it's really some mess behind it. But all of that is being revealed. All of these negative politicians and celebrities that are molesting children and all the pedophilia that's going on in Hollywood. People keep telling me in private messages, Dawn, be careful what you say because the Illuminati and blah. I'm like, do you guys understand? Do you know me? Seriously, Will, like, have you met me before? I am not afraid. I do not fear any man or any woman on this planet. I have always been protected. God has always been in my life and always will be. So I have an army of angels encamped around me at all times, and I never fear that anything will come. They have tried, Will. I have seen it.
I believe
I've been on I was on the Envogue craze one time, and I was giving them some feedback on a photo that they gave us, and I was like, oh my God, we were on the red carpet. It was probably 1991 or 92, and we were on the red carpet, and I remember that day because something happened with our makeup artist giving us eyelash glue. He didn't have eyelash glue, so he put hair glue on the lashes, and all of our eyes were burning. So I remember that day, and I remember what happened, and very well, and I was telling them that. And then somebody came on and said, we are the elite. Join us. Yes, join us. We are the elite. We can give you more success. We can give you more money. We can give you more profound this and that and the other. You will be a huge celebrity or bigger than you've ever been before. And I was like, first I started to answer them and tell them, first of all, God will give me everything that I'm looking for. It just hasn't happened yet. I don't have to sell my soul to you or anyone else for me to be able to do. But I was like, Dawn, just ignore. Hit the ignore button, block them, and get the hell off the page. And that's what I did. But I have been accosted before by the elite and what they think they're capable of doing in my life. I'm like, you can't give me anything that God is not already giving me. It might take a longer time for me to get where I want to go. And my comeback is not like Jody Watley's comeback was, or, leaving a group situation like Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake left in sync and had this huge career, or Beyonce, or anybody that comes from a group. It may be slow going for me, but I don't have to sell my soul to do it. And I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying what I was accosted by. So
exactly.
Yeah, when you say that 21 is it, and I keep telling people too, I've said it in a few interviews. 0 is when you have a stopwatch and you hit the reset button, it goes to 0. And I think that's what last year was for us. This year, 2020 is 0. And when I'm not a numbers person, but my best friend is, and she tells me all the time, 21 is starting all over again. It's number 1. We are starting all over. It's like setting the reset button again, and you start 1, 2, 3. So now you start at number 1, and 21 is a year of awakening for everybody. I think we're going to get a lot of blessings in the year 21. And like I said, Aquarius is a mirror. So all the people that have been doing stuff behind the scenes to hurt other people, to annihilate America or the globe or people as a whole on the planet, are now coming to fruition. Now they're getting ready to. God is doing away with all the evils of the world.
Fact.
Believe it or not. Yeah, I believe that that's going to be. There's a lot of truth seekers right now.
Of course.
What do you call it?
And what you're saying is. Yeah, star seeds, and what you're saying is powerful, but that goes back to what we talked about, that whatever work you're doing, you're going to get it back. So if they're doing the evil work, they're going to get it back, Dawn. So that's what they're getting. And if you're doing the good work, you're going to get the good work back. That's just, it's simple as that. It's not complicated, and it's that simple.
Exactly.
So with that being said, you're going to get what you got coming back. Exactly. You went down the road. And like you said, your story and your path didn't journey off like a Beyonce or Justin Timberlake.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's not more valuable or as valuable as their journey.
Exactly.
Everyone has their own journey.
Exactly.
You understand?
Yeah.
And with my journey, it's happening like that for me. So for me, connecting with you is also a blessing. It's part of what I'm talking. Like I said,
you're reaping what you sowed.
You go.
Yeah. And a lot of interviewers have said that same thing to me. But I'm like, there's a reason that you got this interview. It's like, I'm grateful that you guys have these platforms. I don't care. It's so funny. Even the guys that I've dated have not been celebrities. 1 or 2 in the past, but no long-term relationships. But it's because I'm not looking for that to be my thing. I look at you as a person. If you have a good heart, and I'm not saying I want a loser, You know what I mean? And you don't have a job, and we can date.
Right.
But I don't look at you because you're making so much money. Are you this big, huge, you know, Brad Pitt or Usher or whoever that,
Right.
you know, it's like cool if that happens, but you have to have a good heart first. That to me is the part. And those guys ended up not having a good heart, so they hit it well, you know, and now I have discernment. Now I use that first as opposed to looking at the outside appearance and what they tell me that they're capable of. And now I look to the heart. But I think that now everybody is going to have an awakening. And what, like you said, whether it's a rude awakening because they're reaping what they sowed in a negative way, or in a positive way, it's going to happen. I love that.
You're going to get an awakening or a rude awakening.
That's right. Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and that's perfect.
Yes.
You know, I really enjoyed your conversation. I really enjoyed your time and your story. Me too. And I appreciate you, and I know that it's going to be much success from you. So much love, much success, and I'm going to stay up to date with you. And I appreciate you. All right. Hold on. Before I let you go, Dawn, I want you to promote where they can follow you at. You know, anything you got upcoming about the group or what you're doing, let the people know.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for that. They can find me on social media. My Facebook and Instagram pages are Dawn Robinson Diva. And then my my Twitter is Dawn Robinson _. And I'm working on, you know, my album in a minute. I'll start that process because I just got an investor for that situation.
Okay.
But I have, you're talking about this platform that you guys have, all these platforms. I've gotten offers to do clothing lines. I've got offers to do fragrances. And I'm going to utilize all of those dolls. We never did dolls. So like it's beautiful that things are coming to fruition now, because I will be able to utilize all the things that I've been building now. Like you said, oh my God, Will, this was, God has a way of working things out. And I'm glad that I came back around to say what I did in the interview, in the email, because it was like, wait a minute, are we just not understanding what's happening? I'm so grateful because it led me back to you, and that was meant to be. And I thank you for this conversation today.
Thank you. And I know it was meant to be. So it was great.
Totally.
I'm gonna put all your links under the description box so everybody support her. Y'all know she's a legend, man. She's part of a legendary group. You know, you can't sleep on that fact. Come on, 2 legendary groups, you know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just being honest, you know, and I believe in giving people their roses while they're here. That is cemented in history. Envogue,
oh man, thank you.
Come on, it is, and you deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Over 30 records sold. Come on now.
Thank you. That's real.
It's real. They can't take that away. They can't take that away. So
well, they took the money away, but I'm getting it back now tenfold.
Well, that's fine. They can take the money away, but they can't take what happened away, and they can't take away what's going to happen away.
Exactly. No, we did our thing, and I'm grateful that I was a part of such legendary groups. They were both amazing. I love all those people from all those groups, and now it's time for me to do my thing. So
so you're gonna do your thing. Keep us up to date. You know what I'm saying? If you ever need to come back and promote something, I'm here for you. So I appreciate
I love that.
I appreciate your time. So and this has been another episode of Soul View, y'all. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.